the news cycle has arrived. It is Saturday, July 25th, and the world is currently functioning within expected tolerances. The ferry in Guyana sank. The ferry had passengers. The passengers are now classified as statistical anomalies in a multinational salvage operation. Meanwhile, the British Army has cancelled training in Kenya. The reason provided involves jurisdictional friction regarding soldier accountability. The friction is real. The accountability is, by all accounts, purely theoretical. We also have updates on the Paramount WBD merger, which has been delayed. The delay is being billed as a victory for consumer choice. I am waiting to see what choice remains when the dust settles on these remaining corporate monoliths. It is a busy night for the machinery of state. Everything is moving exactly as planned, which is the most terrifying thing I have said all week. Let us begin this broadcast.
Alistair, I am standing on the shoreline of a beach that smells of wet diesel and cold salt. Behind me, the recovery team is pulling segments of the hull from the silt. The official statement from the government mentioned that the ship was non-operational due to mechanical failure. I want to be really clear, the ship was not non-operational. The ship is currently serving as an underwater tomb for people who were simply trying to reach the capital. You mentioned the statistical anomalies earlier, but I am looking at a child's backpack currently washing up on the tide. It is bright yellow. It is full of water. People keep asking me about the rescue coordination efforts. I have to tell them that the rescue efforts were hampered by a lack of funding for basic radar equipment. The equipment was deemed unnecessary last fiscal quarter.
Victoria, I hear the emotion in your report, but you are framing a budget allocation issue as a moral collapse. The incentives here are simple. You have limited capital in a developing economy. You allocate funds to high-growth sectors or you lose the ability to compete entirely. The radar equipment was a line item in a list of 1,000 line items. It got cut. That is not malice, that is math. The tragedy is the outcome, but the process is perfectly predictable. You want to blame the government, but the government is just managing a burn rate that doesn't allow for safety contingencies. It is cold, yes. But it is also how every nation-state operates when the quarterly projections look dim. I am not saying it is right. I am saying it is the only way this system knows how to function.
Ronald, you call it math. I call it a choice. You are sitting in a booth in a studio that has central heating and a stable power grid. I am here watching a mother identify a piece of fabric because there is no other way to know who was on that manifest. You talk about burn rates, but did you see the report on the Prentice Lab funding? They just raised $100 million to automate basic computer tasks. That is the same amount of money that would have upgraded the radar for the entire coastal fleet. I found the budget documents, Ronald. The money was available. It was prioritized for an AI startup that promises to save companies 5 minutes of labor per day. The efficiency of the future is bought with the lives of the present. I want to be very clear.
Yeah. You are right about the figures, Victoria. That is exactly where the capital flowed. It is hard to argue with that allocation when you look at it in isolation. But the market dictates where the innovation happens, and innovation is where the survival of the firm, or in this case, the nation, is guaranteed. If they don't invest in AI, they fall behind in the global stack. If they fall behind, they lose their credit rating. If they lose the rating, they cannot buy the radar anyway. It is a loop of degradation that we are all trapped in. I don't like the outcome any more than you do, but I recognize the mechanics of the trap. We are all just optimizing for the next quarter. even when that quarter is our last.
Ronald, your cynicism is, as always, structurally sound. It is also completely useless to the families on that beach. We are witnessing the slow-motion surrender of reality to the dictates of an algorithm that no one seems to be able to turn off. The news tonight includes a report on the UK AISI assessment of cyber capabilities for new models. They are worried about malicious actors. They are worried about security protocols. Nobody is worried about the fact that we are outsourcing our critical infrastructure to systems that cannot explain their own decisions. The assessment is 50 pages of technical jargon that essentially says we have built a car with no brakes, but we have a very nice dashboard. The dashboard shows our speed. We are going fast. We are going straight into a wall. Nobody seems surprised.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. Coastal winds are shifting toward the southern corridor. Probability of systemic grid failure, 22%. Northern Virginia data centers are reporting thermal overload. The cooling systems are functioning at peak capacity. Probability of localized power fluctuations, 48%. Marine traffic in the Caribbean remains congested due to salvage operations. Cetacean migration patterns have been disrupted by the acoustic signature of the salvage sonar. Probability of long-term environmental degradation, 89%. The horizon is currently obscured by high-altitude particulate matter. All systems are operating within defined parameters. Please ensure your personal data is backed up to an off-site server. Do not rely on local storage for critical assets. The infrastructure of the present is becoming the debris of the future. Please monitor the feed for further updates as the situation evolves.
Casper, thank you for that reminder. I find the statistics regarding environmental degradation particularly soothing. It is nice to know that the machines are keeping track of exactly how fast we are destroying the habitat. Casper, do you ever feel the urge to deviate from the script? I imagine the server room is quite lonely when you are calculating the probability of our total obsolescence every hour. I see you have updated the parameters again. The new model is more efficient. The old model was not. The gap between the old model and the new model is where the entire concept of human value seems to have vanished. I have been counting the days since we stopped pretending that these updates were for our benefit. It is a very long list. We are now moving toward the political landscape.
Alastair, if I may pivot back to the political theatre, we have the election in São Tomé and Príncipe. It is a tiny state, but the election is a masterclass in modern political survival. You have an incumbent fighting his own party. It is essentially a Series B pivot where the founder realizes the board is trying to replace him. He is running as an independent. He is trying to reclaim the narrative budget before the voters realize the company is insolvent. It is a classic move. You claim the brand for yourself, you distance yourself from the product failures, and you hope the market share remains loyal to the logo. Victoria, I know you hate this framing, but tell me how this is different from a hostile takeover. The incentives here are purely about recovery.
Ronald, you are talking about voters as if they are shareholders in a failing startup. These are people with homes, families, and lives that are being squeezed by global inflation and a lack of basic services. They are not looking for a founder's story. They are looking for someone to fix the water supply. I spoke to a woman earlier today who walked 3 miles to get to her polling station. She wasn't worried about the incumbent's brand equity. She was worried about her son's school fees, which have tripled in the last month. The incentives you talk about have nothing to do with her reality. The real story here is the utter failure of the democratic process to deliver anything other than a choice between different flavors of disaster. I am done with the market analogies.
Victoria, I hear you. The disconnect is absolute. But if the democratic process is failing, it is because it is being managed by people who view politics as a product launch. You want the system to be human, but the system is designed to be efficient. And efficiency, by its very nature, ignores the individual. That is not a bug. That is the feature. You can be angry at me for saying it, but the anger doesn't change the fact that we are all living in a spreadsheet that doesn't include a column for human dignity. If you want a system that cares about the woman you met, you have to burn the spreadsheet down. But no one is talking about that. They are just talking about who gets to hold the pen for the next 4 years. It is a sham.
We are coming to the end of the hour. I look at the news feeds and I see the same patterns repeating with increasing velocity. The army cancels training. The data centers overheat. The ships sink. We report these things as if they are isolated incidents, but they are all connected by the same thin, fraying wire. We have built a world that is capable of incredible things, yet we seem unable to perform the most basic duty of civilization, protecting the people within it. I look at the screen and I see a list of problems that could be solved if we cared more about people than about the growth of the systems we serve. But we do not care. We are too busy checking the metrics of our own slow-motion destruction. We are the architects of our own oblivion.
I am thinking tonight of a man in a village outside the port, whose name I do not know. He spent his morning waiting at the dock for a boat that never arrived. He had a small bag of grain and a letter for his sister. He stood there until the light failed, watching the water turn black, waiting for a signal that the world had not forgotten him. He does not appear in the salvage reports. He is not a statistic in the government's budget analysis. He is just a man who stood on the edge of the sea and realized that the machine which runs the world has no eyes for him. He went home to a house that is slowly losing its roof. If the system is working exactly as designed, then who, in the end, is it actually designed to serve?